Thanks again for joining us on this episode of the Rough Cut Club. Excited to be in the studio today with my adequately looking co-host, Mr. Shane Reitzammer. Dude, have you been working out?
No, actually, 3 years. Hey, that's lifting kids, bro.
Lifting kids. I love it, man.
Got to get back in the gym.
Dude, well, same, bro. Honestly, I kind of took a hiatus.
Hopefully the editor adds some Photoshop
After Effects to the biceps.
Get rid of the beer belly, make me sit up right.
I love it, man. Well, dude, excited to be in the studio today. We have a very special guest with us in person. Always love when we have a guest in person, but man, she is definitely a character, and I mean that in multiple different ways.
Dude, we taught us so much. Honestly, I learned a lot on this episode, even just 100%. Like from a marketing standpoint of the use of voice and acting, voice acting, even in content that we create, and even things like this podcast. And I can't wait till we get to the part about the string coming out of your head, because
I got a little mini masterclass on to how to sound like this, and
he did it.
I'm telling you guys, I wouldn't even do it then. I had to come out of my shell a little bit there because my vocal range is so small. It's right here. Like, if I can sing songs that are sung right here, I'm all right. Anything where we color outside the line, voice cracks, and it's really bad. But today we got a master class from a voice actor who is also an alumni at the university that Shane and I graduated from, UNT. Shout out Maine Green.
Let's go Maine Green. And she's done a ton of voiceover talent from Funimation, anime, commercials. She even said she landed a principal spot on a project recently. And there's just a lot of freelancer knowledge packed into this episode. Totally. Not only for voiceover actors and how to get started in the industry, but some of it is applicable to freelancers and filmmaking in general.
100%. So I'm excited to jump in. Let's go check out Lara's episode.
Roll the tape.
Always awesome to have another UNT alum in the house. And this is not only a UNT alum, Kaka. If you don't know, this is like the UNT gang sign, I think, right here. But it's it's
the
this
claw.
One. There we go. It's the claw. I always do this, but it's actually this. But anyway, we have a UNT alumni in the house. And not only is she a UNT alumni, but she is also the very first time that we have had a voice actor on the show, welcoming our newest and latest and greatest VIP Rough Cut Club member, Lara Woodhull. Lara, welcome to the show.
Thanks.
Yeah, thanks for being here today.
Thanks for having me.
We actually, our paths randomly crossed at a UNT networking
so we could help the students
event. Exactly.
Find possibly different careers or just networking to get out, get internships.
Yeah, and
I'm not much help with that part, being freelance.
Right. Well, I kind of want to dig into why, just what you've gotten out of that. But essentially, this is an event that they take industry leaders and people who are actually in various parts of the filmmaking career, and they throw 400 students who are super nervous and timid or really eager and excited to talk with industry professionals.
Backing up, can you believe we're what's the industry leaders now? I mean,
yes, you are looking at the industry leaders right here.
I still feel like a kid sometimes. I'm just out of college, and I'm like,
so awesome. Yeah. So anyway, our paths crossed. Very grateful that we got to connect. Y'all actually probably got connected at this very last one, or Bella or somebody.
Yeah, I met Bella off screen.
Right. And so our podcast tech running the show right now got to meet you and get us all connected. And so we're happy to have you here. For those who don't know you or your journey, kind of kick off how you got roped into this business and kind of what you're doing today.
Well, way back in middle school, I was a fan of anime, and Dragon Ball Z was my jam. That was the only anime I knew. I was the weird girl in middle school that liked anime, let alone an action one. And lo and behold, in 6th grade career day, Chris Sabat, who's the voice of Vegeta, Piccolo, and a lot of the big anime, sort of anime royalty, let's put it that way, came to career day. He was in the other hallway, so I had to sneak over during lunch, talk to him, and thought, I can sound like his characters. I'm going to do it, and did impersonations for him. One of his characters, Kami, fired the one I was doing, Mr. Popo. And it was sort of history ever since. I'm like, I want this. This is so cool. Only career day he's ever done because he did it as a favor to that teacher. And I said, that's it. Like, I wanted to be a pop singer. I wanted to be a vet. My parents thought either opera singer or air raid siren. I'm not even joking. That is what they used to say. I mean, they reminded me last week. But I was like, this is it. So I went to anime conventions asking questions. Hey, when I get to high school, what should I? Hey, when I get to college. And they started recognizing me from the panels. And then I decided, looked up UNT. I walked into the radio, TV, film department. It's now a different name. It's media arts. But I said, I want to do voice acting. What do you got? And I stumped the advisor.
Mm-hmm.
So he walked me down to the studio where they were filming the nightly news and said, Phyllis, what do you got? She goes, I don't know, but we're going to work together.
Wow.
And I walked in and starting freshman year was an NTTV junkie and worked my way up from basic volunteer all the way up to ops manager, taking the classes and Japanese. I was like, okay, I can get in as an engineer. I can get in as a translator. Anyway, because voice acting is a very niche area and it's very competitive. And I'm like, there's no way I'm going to get in like that. But I worked all of our classes where we had audio copy. I treated it like a real spec. They used to have the scripts that were like the hardware store. Said, come on down and buy your nails or buy this car. And I'm like, no, I want to do a juice commercial. So I wrote Big Tree Juice and performed the spots except for the mom and somebody else. Played it for the class and they said, that's not you. You altered this. I said, no, I can do it right now with you. And they said, you're playing something back there. I said, no. I just knew that I could do the young voices. So didn't really work as well in the RTVF department. But, someone gave me a contact. It led to my first real industry audition junior year. It was Radio Disney.
Wow.
I didn't book it, but the guy was like, oh, you can go impress your mom or your grandma. I produced the spot for you. Have something go show off. And he never said I couldn't put it on my demo. So those became the most produced awesome pieces.
Wow.
So when I was ready, I took all the audio class projects and made a commercial demo reel. Way different than you're supposed to, not the recommended path. But I thought, let's send it to Funimation. Because I was doing cartoon characters and different voices and aspects. And I said, it's not a character reel, but it still shows my work. And I sent that the end of junior year. And end of senior year, I walk into graduation on May 14th, because I remember the day, and got to tell Phyllis, I got an audition. Funimation called me out of the blue and said, come in for open auditions. So that Monday after graduation, I had my audition. 2 weeks later, I was in the booth recording Princess Jellyfish.
Wow.
It really was just timing and luck in this weird case, because now they don't even really do opens. It's more of a who you know, just like in a lot of the production side. I mean, there were internships. I applied for the internship at Funimation. Didn't get it. My roommate did.
Wow.
I was jealous.
I can imagine.
I'm like, But yeah, it was just timing and luck. So June 1st, 2011, I got to get in. And then later I found out it was what's called a paid audition. So they liked what I did. I impressed them. But because I was brand spanking new, no experience, they said, let's see if she actually can take direction. Let's see if she can actually work. So apparently, I didn't know this. It was a test. If I had screwed up royally, that would have been the end. They would have recast, gone with someone else, and that would have been my time.
Wow.
Thank goodness I got myself under fangirl control after the first take that I missed.
So,
because it was weird hearing yourself with people that you have watched and grown up and listened to, and I'm just watching the anime going, oh, that's an awesome scene. Oh, you wanted me to record that now?
Yeah.
Oops.
Just super green. I remember my early start in the industry. When you get on some of those bigger projects, you're like kind of starstruck at first, and you don't even know what like the normal social behavior.
I mean,
is
they
even
laughed
supposed
at me
to
because
be.
I came in with a headshot to my audition.
Yeah.
And had like a little resume that said nothing, but I graduated and here you go.
That's awesome.
I also was stupid and wore heels. Don't wear them in the booth.
Mm.
I kicked them off, but I wanted to seem
Yeah,
just
yeah,
a
yeah.
little taller.
Yeah, that's so
I
awesome.
didn't look so much like a kid.
Yeah. So basically, you graduate college, you kick off your freelance kind of journey
Within 2 weeks.
Within 2 weeks, and then is Funimation like the main client that you had that was like funding you a bunch of stuff from there?
Yeah.
Or were you already trying to spread your wings and work with a bunch of different people?
I mean, that was always the dream goal, was Funimation for me as a kid. It wasn't voice acting. It was, I want Funimation.
Mm.
So at the time, I was still just doing that because I didn't know what else I wanted to do. I knew voice acting had more like commercials, but I didn't really understand it yet.
Mm.
So that was my main bread and butter. And honestly, still my biggest client to date. I mean, I do commercials here and there. I had an e-learning client for 4 years, all during the pandemic.
Yeah.
But I mean, been there since 2011. I can't
Wow.
knock it and say it hasn't helped build who I am.
Yeah.
Mm.
So walk me through what a typical day in the life looks like for you now.
Ooh, I love freelance and working from home because I have a booth at my house.
Mm.
Have a custom built whisper room, so not like one of the high tier, but I put enough Orlex foam in it. It kills out most of the sound. Just to where you need a little post, like you might just do a basic noise reduction.
Mm.
But I get up about 9 in the morning if I'm lucky. Roll out, drink coffee for an hour, play on my phone, pet my dogs. My husband's already at work downstairs in his office because we both work from home.
Yeah.
Then when I'm finally ready or just bored enough, I go upstairs, still in my PJs, start looking at what auditions have come in for the day. Like today, I had a video game audition that came in from my agent. So sat for a while, read the scenes. It's a code named one, so I don't actually know what the game is. Other than here's the character's name, here's the description of the voice, and here's your lines.
Wow.
So I mean, this one we had 3 lines, so that's not a too hard of audition. But it was one that had a more interesting voice range. So it wanted like raspy or textured or just they were damaged people. The closest I can say is it was like a zombie-ish is my guess. So it was trying to figure out, do I whisper and rasp or do I go big? But they said like 20s, and it's just trying to figure out how you want to color. So you play for a bit before you might go, oh, that's it. Then go do just a little post, tighten up your lines, send it off, and then I go to the pay and play sites, see if there's anything good. Today wasn't so hot. So honestly, I was kind of done with what I needed to do within 15 minutes of getting up there.
Wow.
I mean, some days you're going to have a lot of auditions. Some days you're not. Some weeks your agents are going to send you 10 auditions. Some it might just be 1. The strikes that we had last year, end of last year, going into this year, the possibility of having a video game strike was really close. And they just redid.
I don't even think I knew anything about a video game
It was
strike.
online. SAG it was all over the SAG news that the contracts were coming up.
Whoa.
So they managed to grandfather some of the old stuff in and limp it to another year. Because AI is definitely going to be playing a big hand in changing a lot of this. I mean, that's what the TV writers strikes and just television and theatrical animation was.
How do you feel like AI is going to impact your
it already has.
career?
I mean,
or just your industry,
that e-learning client I mentioned, 4 years, decided to try AI.
Wow.
Because they actually got backlogged. They overpromised. And there was no way I was going to keep up. So they said, well, we can all put it in and then we don't have to wait for you to do pickups. Pickups are when you have a line and suddenly maybe I miss a word or I cough or stumble or they change something. They say, we need you to do it again. So it's a little part of that paragraph you might just go back and redo so they can fit it in. So they said, we can get pickups quicker. What was funny enough was my direct manager said, it's just as quick to go to you for a pickup as to do the AI, but their hands were tied. Their bosses decided. And it's going to happen. I mean, education stuff is really a big area where I see AI coming into just because they want to write these volumes and volumes and huge quantities of videos. And it'll work on some, but where I had concerns with this particular company, and I did voice it and just said, look, this is not just because I want a job, but looking at you as a client in your future, this was an ESL program. So teaching kids how to speak. With stuff like that being used with AI, you're going to lose the musicality of voices. You're going to lose accents. You're going to have something possibly saying it wrong. I mean, listen to how Google says some of the street names.
Siri is always getting stuff wrong with
me. Yeah. So imagine now this is how kids are learning.
Yeah.
And they're going to think it's right, and they're going to go out, and people are just going to stare at them.
Yeah.
But the other thing is, like, we can have pauses, we can have emotion, and AI is getting better, obviously, and they're able to take our files, put it in, and make things. So there's a group called NAVA, National Association of Voice Actors, that put together a writer, something we could add to contracts. And said, hey, we are not open to AI. You cannot use us. You cannot sell us. And if we do, we have the right to sue.
Wow.
And get protections. And actually, what's crazy is some of the founding members today, right now, are posting from Capitol Hill. They're talking to senators. They're working on some of the bills.
Wow.
AI is definitely disrupting like so many industries that, you know, even, I mean, we've talked about it on our show, even our own. My optimistic belief is that AI will be a tool that we will be able to leverage rather than run us out of work. But that's not all industries. I do think that.
Yeah, I mean, I had a doctor that told me about a patient, not one of his, it's something he had heard from a friend of a friend of a friend or whatever. But this guy had gone into multiple doctors, was not diagnosed. But he put symptoms. Symptoms, thank you. Wow, it is second or third Monday already for me this week.
All right.
But he put it into Chat GPT, and lo and behold, it gave him a diagnosis. And he went back to a doctor, and they said, that's a rare one, but let's do the test. And it was right.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, there are definitely ways that, you know, I mean.
Even in my husband's industry, he's an architect. They're using it for rendering and getting some ideas of how buildings could look. But they aren't wanting it to turn to the whole thing to take away jobs from architects and engineers, because there are just some calculations and some know-how that AI is not going to know.
Yeah. I think it still lacks the human element. And I didn't even think about from the voice side of inflection and tone, and then how you pronounce things, and even
imperfections.
Imperfection is the key to commercial video games, everything right now.
Wow.
We want it gritty, we want it raw, we want it real.
Yeah.
What the best way everything is described, even video games is going through this. We're having the conversation just like this, you and me across the table. Ideally at 7 a.m. when you're half asleep, you haven't had that coffee, because the only stuff that's going to come out is truth. You're not thinking and overthinking. So that is what you want to hear in a commercial versus save today and talk to the big voice and feel like you're talking to everyone. It's a personal, real conversation.
Are there any things that like that are just like fascinating, like almost rituals like that you would do to get into into character for some of those roles? Like you just mentioned, waking up at 7 a.m. and like not even being fully awake yet.
Well, that's how it's described.
Yeah.
But for getting into that, like for commercial, I usually sit down in the booth, get a little comfortable, have a slouch, so you're not breathing as well. You're maybe gonna have to take that breath. Think about who you're supposed to talk to. So if it's a mom talking about diapers, you want to talk to your best friend that just had a baby. So do I know anyone who's just had a baby? Or I could talk to my sister who's had 2 kids. Maybe we're comparing notes on what the best diaper was. But you know, I say let's use Pampers because, and then you just go into the script. The other way I've been taught is think of it as a podcast. Funny enough that we're here, because you're sitting here and I'm introducing this product to you, just you and me talking, going, yeah. And so I'm here representing Pampers because, and you just go into the script. It's called pre-life.
It's almost like method acting.
It is a little bit.
Voice acting.
Well, voice acting is still acting.
Yeah.
A lot of people think it's easy. You sit, you just talk. but you still got to get into that character and that the right mindset.
Mm-hmm.
So you mentioned getting into the mindset of the character. Is there, I mean, you mentioned a couple of things, but are there anything that people who are aspiring to get into the voice acting game can do to like more successfully tap into who a character is?
First of all, watch, learn. You don't have to play necessarily. I'm not a big gamer, but my husband plays, so I'll just sit and watch him play, and I'll do the commentary. Or I'll think of what voices they might do, or maybe I heard a funny laugh on the game or a show, and I'll just start mimicking it right on the couch. So, but the other thing they also say, bring part of yourself into it. So if you can put your life experience into it a little bit, maybe, I hate to say the one we all go to is your dog dying. You get sad, think about it, gets you in the right headspace. Say the character has similar attitudes to you. Maybe that'll help color your read. My most recent anime role, I had a lead. My first lead was awesome. But the character was deaf. So I was her thoughts. It's a show called Sign of Affection on Crunchyroll. But what I said to everyone, including online, is I related so much to her. Not, obviously I'm not deaf, but her personality. It was about starting college, starting to understand life as an adult, finding her first love. And I was thinking about like some of the first dates I went on in college, or how weird and goofy and quirky I was. And I got to bring some of that. So I sort of felt about what are some of my life instances, or how would I have reacted when she got to some of the love. It was thinking about some of the first dates with my husband and just the mental and that progression of falling in love. So it colored the read. So it's not just reading, it's the acting. It's bringing just a piece of yourself to it and add the realism.
There's so much of like just putting your head in right mental state.
It is.
Before
And there's some days you're not going to get it, and that's okay. You just walk away, go do something else, maybe a little marketing, find new clients, or update your website, update your resume. There's a whole lot, because you're your own business when you're freelance, right?
Right.
So I still have to market. I have an agent, but I still go try and negotiate things on my own. I negotiate going to conferences, figure out what classes I want to do, continuing education. I do my taxes. It's not all fun. It's not all voice, but it's all stuff we got to do.
It's what we like to say on this podcast is balancing the art and business of filmmaking, because, sometimes you get, and we just had an episode talking about that, of getting burned out on either one. Sometimes you get burned out on the art and you need to go do the business.
Exactly.
And other times you got to pause on the business because you got to finish an art piece.
And no matter what, mental health is such a big thing. A lot of people get imposter syndrome, where they feel like they're not good enough. Or how am I working with all of these great people that have been doing it for so long? I mean, I'm sure that's in the film world too.
100%.
Oh yeah.
So some days are not going to be your best days, and you have to be able to say, okay, I need to take a day off. I just need to take care of me. If today all I do is read a chapter of a book or go take my dog for a walk, those are small victories, but they are victories nonetheless.
Yeah.
It's good. That's encouraging. I like that.
That is.
I'm curious. So you had mentioned about, you wake up, you check all the different resources where auditions might come in, whether it's from your agent or from paid sites. What are you seeing currently? What seems to come through the most? Is there like, I didn't even think about the video game market, but that's such a duh. Like, yeah, of course, that's probably huge. What it seems to be like, what are the most gigs that are being requested right now?
Right now, animation is popping up. Now, let me say one thing. It's something one of my mentors just posted online, and it makes a lot of sense. This being an election year, a lot of money is going to political. So you're going to see a lot of those pop up. But a lot of businesses get very nervous with money on election years, because it's going to depend on who gets in and who's going to control things, what rules or regulations might come in. So they like to hold that little nest egg back. So it's been a little bit slower of a year. But I'm starting to see animation and video games pop up again a little more. Promo and narration internal narration for a company. So, I mean, you can have talking about your business's history, but you also have internal e-learning. It's not just for schools. I mean, it's like, say you had a new person come into Cinema Story and you wanted to integrate them to your values and how maybe to log into your HR time clock. It's all internal e-learning.
I love that. We need some audio books for people on the drive. That's great. It's e-learning on the drive.
Come on.
Yeah.
Let's make it happen.
Yeah.
That's so awesome.
But I mean, anywhere you hear audio, it's voice acting.
Yeah.
The announcements in the store. Today's deal, $5 off of a whole turkey breast right now for this week.
Do you do a bunch of grocery stores?
No.
Okay.
I've auditioned.
Dang.
I've auditioned.
I've never even thought about that.
How big is radio still for, voiceover? I guess that would be ad spots and commercials.
My last job I just booked actually was for a local radio in North Carolina.
That's awesome. Okay. So, because I remember when I was at RTVF at UNT, I was like, I wasn't super interested in radio, but I actually we had to do like a spot for each thing, right? So we did the TV, y'all all did the same stuff. But the radio spot I had so much fun on. In fact, we got to bring up Joey's story.
I played mine.
Joey played his on a podcast. He came up with a jingle like jam song for pizza.
Yes.
And it is classic. Mine wasn't that great. Mine was like spooky, scary.
I
can't
may
remember
have to
what we were
go
selling,
pull mine out and find it for you guys.
Yes.
Because my very first one was those juice commercials.
That's
And I went to the teacher. I didn't say this. I got 2 script ideas. And I said, I got time. I'm just going to record them both. And then I played them and said, which one do you want me to turn in? He says, wait, you did 2? I said, yeah, I liked both ideas. So I just went ahead and produced them.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I had to book my talent. I said, I'm the main spot, but I want somebody to come in as a mom. And I wanted someone to do little boy voice because I hadn't discovered that I could do little boy voices yet. It hadn't occurred to me. So I brought in somebody else from NTTV that could get a little squeaky and do a boy voice. So we were arguing about which was our favorite juice.
Oh my gosh. Fun. Do you think you can do a piece of this?
I always remember the tagline, Big Tree, helping kids sprout a little every day.
That's so awesome, man.
Now it'll be a boy voice's Big Tree, helping kids sprout a little every day.
That's so amazing.
If we do this audio learning podcast ebook for
do you want to try to figure out how to do this?
We would have to
teach
have
you real quick.
We'd have to have the little kid voice for the whole thing.
So the way to do a kid voice, you feel like you're doing a big grin. So go ahead and grin. Really cheesy grin.
Okay.
And you feel the muscles. Now you're going to feel like there's a string. And you're going to just pull it up. And your eyes go bigger and wider. And you send it up into your head.
You got to pull your string.
You got to pull the string.
You got to pull your string.
My vocal range is so... It's so small.
No, we have to hear your voice right now.
As soon as I go up any higher, my voice cracks like instantly.
But that's a realistic boy.
That's true.
That's a realistic kid. There's a reason women do a lot of the boy voices is, to put it bluntly, we don't have something that drops and changes.
True.
So, I mean, Bart Simpson, done by a woman.
Yep.
Jimmy Neutron, done by a woman.
Yeah.
I did not know Jimmy Neutron was done by a woman. That is
Debbie
amazing.
Derryberry.
Wow, Debbie Derryberry.
What a great name.
I know.
Really
I love her name.
That's awesome. But you're destined for fame if you have the name Derryberry. Or I can't even remember how to say it.
Yeah.
Berry Dairy. Anyway.
But I mean, it's just changing the characters. So especially in video games and animation, they want you to be able to do a bunch. So say I was doing the boy voice. So I have a gruff. I might pull it back and have like a weird little boy. You can always just raise your shoulders and change it and tighten what's there. Or just a little bit nasally. You send it in your nose. It's just all about placement in the mask.
Wow. Such an art to be able to
It takes time to practice, but the other thing is learning to critique yourself.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I'm sure when you hear yourself on a voicemail, you're like, oh, I sound so weird.
Yeah.
It's learning to get past that and not just saying you sound weird. It's, why do you sound weird? What can you change? Or how can you manipulate this today?
Yeah.
Or is it just you have a bunch of mucus and you need to go blow your nose?
So you mentioned like your favorite stuff is obviously the anime. Do you feel like you have like a weakness in terms of being a voice actor?
Oh, I can't do audiobooks. No
audiobooks?
way.
No. Is it just too much dialogue?
Well, one, it's a lot. And two, I am really bad at dropping words here and there. Anime's forgiving if you drop maybe or change a word from the to an or a or that. But if it's book, it's written how it is. So knowing I have a tendency to sort of drop a word or cut off to like a not or instead of is not, isn't.
Right.
That's not how it's written.
So
it's a very specific and technical.
Yeah.
And I don't think I have the patience for that.
Yeah. So do you get, just from like a process standpoint, because I don't even know how it works, but do you sometimes get videos that you have to match up the dialogue to?
That's anime.
And I was going to say, because all the art has to be done first.
In American cartoons, the animation is done after.
Okay.
Because they want to watch the videos of us. Maybe we have a funny facial expression as we do that. So it's like, woo, and your eyes get big, and they might animate that. Whereas Japanese, the anime, it's already in Japanese. So we watch it with the Japanese to see this timing.
Yeah.
But the big thing is, hi. Konnichiwa.
Yeah.
So it's, hi, how's it going? So that's where the script writers and other people come in, doing adaptation.
Wow.
But even then, the hard part on like something like anime is sometimes you might miss a translation of a joke, or just like we have idioms and laughing about read or whatever.
So do they have a script supervisor to kind of help guide that?
That's just your director.
Yeah.
Sometimes he'll say, okay, let's just shorten this line. It's coming out too long. No matter how fast you read, we aren't going to get this.
Yeah.
Or I stopped in and said, hey, now that we are like 10 episodes in, I don't think she'd say that.
Dang. That is just like so complex.
I mean, it's not even, well, it's just, I'll use Yuki for an example. She was a very naive girl, very innocent. So having her suddenly go, God dang it, or Jesus Christ, I'm like, I don't think she'd say that and swear that way. I think maybe geez or oh man.
Yeah.
But definitely like.
Right. You got to steer away from certain phrases and whatnot.
And I mean, those are fine in other situations, but I said, something about this just feels uncomfortable and wrong in this scenario.
Got it.
So we might take it to, instead of Jesus, it's cheese.
Right.
And then Jesus, so G-E's. You extend the read.
Got it.
So you got to keep your mouth flaps.
That's
We count the flaps.
The flaps.
Count the mouth flaps. That needs to be a t-shirt.
I love it. So for somebody who is interested in breaking into this world, they're in the same position that you were in college. They're inching towards their way out, or maybe they're already out and they're wanting to get in. Somebody's told them, "Wow, you have such an interesting voice."
Start taking classes.
Okay.
Work with casting directors. There's directors from Crunchy and other animation studios that host classes on Zoom where they might be in person. Was it last 2 weeks already? Wow, I just took one with someone named Sarah James Sherman. She is like considered one of the queens of casting for American cartoons. And because she is working in the industry right now, she's on the pulse of what's coming. Whereas if you work with an actor who maybe hasn't done stuff in a while, they can give you some good advice, but they don't know what's happening right now. How
Great
trends
advice.
are changing. Like how over time it's become a more natural read for video games and anime. It used to be all crazy, big, goofy, and now they want real. Everyone just wants to relate to what they're playing and what they're seeing and hearing.
That's interesting. Do you go ahead?
It even takes me back. So a couple of days ago, we were shooting internal content, is what we call it at Cinema Story. So like stuff that we put out on our social or marketing assets for our own company. And Joey and I, like always, we'll usually be shooting it with each other, and one of us will direct the other person, like, hey, and it's so hard because we're not actors. We're behind the camera, but we're trying to present something. And I find myself going really big. Let me tell you about this project that we did and it was so epic, and then I watch it back and I hate it, and I go,
it's cheesy now
because it's not me, because it's and I
it's
love
cheesy
what she
and it's
said.
not you.
Yeah.
It's podcast. Like, think about how we talk. Like, this is how we need to present
Right.
on all that content. It's just conversational. And anytime that we have, and we've talked, Joey's actually called that out before. I've called that out before. Like, dude, you're performing right now. Just talk to me.
Exactly.
Right. And we're like, oh yeah, okay.
That is a great way to think about
Yeah.
it.
But with a camera on you or with a mic in front of you,
You just
we've
ignore
gotten
it.
used to the podcast, but you have to ignore it.
Y'all film it.
Yeah.
We're filming right now.
Right.
But we're ignoring it.
Wait, we're filming right now.
Fourth wall broken. But I mean, it's just we ignore it and we go through and we're just having a conversation.
But it's also a fine line between like having too low of energy.
Yeah.
Like you have to walk the line of too low, normal, and performing.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And like there is a middle
But again,
ground.
it depends on your audience.
Totally.
I mean, maybe
Yeah.
it is a lower energy audience, like ASMR.
Right.
Oh,
True.
Tell us, do you?
I don't do it. I don't do ASMR. I watch it. Sometimes it's just nice to have as a background noise if I need to chill.
Yeah. Are you an ASMR fan?
No, I'm confused. I am so like, I don't know anything about
ASMR
this.
is like, I would start doing this. Sorry, Bella.
Okay, I'm into
So you
ASMR.
hear the, you might hear the tapping. That's where it's generating background noises and sounds that might click something. Like, I'll be honest, the ones I watch are massage because it's like the low energy and you can hear the scraping or the
So
material.
you listen to massage ASMR just
sometimes
in the background?
Sometimes it's just
Is it calming?
it is. You just close your eyes and you sort of picture you're at that massage and you can just take 5 minutes and just hear it and just go, okay, breathe, like they're telling the person in there to breathe, and you hear the fabric rustling. And
Okay.
I'm a person who likes their hair played with, so I mean, it's like if I don't have someone who can, just pretend I do.
That is so awesome.
We had to be honest here. We had a filmmaker that was shooting with us for a period of time, and then he's like, "Yeah, my girlfriend's getting to ASMR, and she's getting like really big into this. Like, she's got a ton of like, we're making money." And he like started to slow down filming for us because they turned it into this whole this whole thing. And I was like, and I had to go home and Google. I was like, oh, that's cool. And I'm like, what is his girlfriend doing? I'm like, had to go.
I mean,
Google
what was
it.
funny was for a while I was part-time voice acting. I worked retail, and I actually got busy enough. I went to them and said, guys, I'm not coming back. I actually have enough work. Thanks. It was right as COVID, that 2020.
Yeah.
So I got furloughed and told like my job was in limbo. So my friend got me into that e-learning group, and it ended up bigger and bigger and snowballing. And I'm like, hey, job, I know we're starting to come back, which is awesome, but I don't want to.
Nice.
I said, I'll finish my 2 weeks. They said, don't even bother. I'm like, okay.
I know a ton of those emails got sent out around that time. So you had mentioned that like taking classes, that's step number one. Is it essential for somebody to build their own home studio as like a next step to get in the game to start submitting auditions?
If you want to submit, yes. I mean, you can go book a studio, but that's going to cost money every time.
Right.
So get a good sound treated space. I mean, easiest that a lot of people use, start off in a closet. You've got a lot of different soft textures from your clothing. Record fleecing into the clothes because that way it bounces the sound and there's nothing there. If you're facing a wall, you're going to have the reverb come back. Get a good microphone. I mean, there's some good USB ones. Like I started off on a USB. An AKG 2020, I think is what it was. I think it's like gone up to the next generation.
I think my first one I got was a blue baby bottle or something like
Blue
that.
Yeti, blue
or
bottle,
something like that, blue bottle or something like that. But
Yeah.
the whole world of microphones is so vast.
Yeah.
It's insane.
And I mean, then as you get into like maybe having a booth or something, you get an XLR with an interface. And you start upping that game there. Then you might work with someone. If you hear you're not booking a lot, you might talk to someone, say, hey, let me get a professional engineer to listen to my sound. Maybe there's more bounce back, which the way you can test it, clap in your space. If you hear a loud clap back, like a sharp sound, you got echo. So you want as dead a space as possible.
What do you feel like is the most common mistakes early voice actors make when getting into the industry?
One, not having a good enough space, but and I did it too, the overconfidence. I can do this. Anyone can do this. It's an easy job. It's forgetting that you are an actor and it's not just reading.
Yeah.
That, or you book your first thing and then you think, oh, I'm golden. This is going to be easy. And then you have that next dry spell for months. And you go, was that a fluke that I booked? Is it slow, or what else is going on?
That's freelance life right there, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
You can be hot, and that can even go over years, and then there's like a weird year, and it's
Which,
yeah.
While we're talking on setups, I want to point out one thing. If anyone's noticed on camera, that I'm wearing my headphone just slightly off, whereas y'all. So what I like to do is you sound different from what you hear in your sound back, and I can hear a clearer sound if I just leave off a little bit. So you actually...
She is definitely not wrong about this.
Because you get almost like a little bit of echo and feedback, and sometimes you're a little bit slower when you're like this, because if the playback going back to you is just a little slow, you may not react in time.
Interesting.
So actually, when we record auditions, it's recommended that you take them off and just record like this, so you're not caught in your head.
That's
not caught
actually
up
a
in
really
listening.
good note.
But
yeah.
I mean, you don't have to do a lot, just tiny little bit.
See it.
Rough Cut Club secret. Now, when you see us on the show with a little bit of it,
You're checking because maybe it's like sometimes the feedback. I mean, you see singers have the little earpiece and they might yank them out.
Right.
Maybe it's it's come back in too slow, too loud. It's off timing. So they're yanking it out and trying to trust what they're really hearing.
That's really good. I personally feel like I feel the least distracted when I'm max feedback and echo and all
you know
the bad
what?
things for a voice
if
actor.
that is what you need, then by all means do it.
Right.
I know a lot of people that do it. But the other thing is sometimes we get a little physical. And one time I got so physical in a class in my booth at home on Zoom, my headphones flew off and hit the wall.
Yep.
Oh, wow.
Because my problem is being small. You don't always get things that fit.
That's true.
So,
That's true.
I like flung my hands back to do an evil laugh or something, and they just went flying.
So I got to ask, because you mentioned the class and doing like a voiceover booth type thing together. We've had voiceover artists for commercial spots, for corporate video. So we've hired and used them before, but I'm greener to understanding the really professional side of that world. A lot of times we'll order a voiceover through a service or a site or through a rep and then have it done. Well, I did one, and he had me join his like live Zoom session, and we did a recording.
A directed session.
Yeah, and I was like, this is the jam, except I was like, you're doing great. Like, just do it again. Give me like another option. And it was great. So how many of those do you do? Or is
mixed.
Is it mixed? It just depends on the director or the project.
It really does.
Okay.
And maybe how big of client it is. If they're paying a buttload of money, they want to be in there to make sure it's done right and to their satisfaction, not just it's close enough. Can we make this work?
Right. Yeah.
So I always opt for, I have like Zoom, Skype, or there's professional connections like Source Connect, where they can actually record on their end and you just send the audio feed.
Yeah.
So, depending on the clients, I mean, I just said I booked a radio commercial. They actually just took the audition itself and said, this is going to work.
Wow.
You got the timing about
Nailed
right. You've
it.
got the but other times I did a different audio commercial or a radio commercial. It was for the Georgia Lottery. It was a big enough client. They said, we would like to be in it and talk you through what our thoughts are and the characters behind it. Because it was actually more of an active piece. It wasn't just reading the copy. I played the crazy pet store lady who's yelling, oh my God, so many bunnies! And I got to be crazy. They said they wanted something more comedic, which was against the norm.
Yeah.
Key fact, don't recommend doing this. Don't cuss in your auditions, but I did one take that was theirs. And then I said, okay, B take. How would I react?
Yeah.
I dropped an F-bomb in my audition.
They didn't like it.
No, they said you were the funniest. But they did. I thought maybe they'd do that and maybe bleep it.
Yeah.
Because I was like, that would have been funny. They could do
Oh,
that. But
right.
that's not normally recommended. Don't just drop bombs like that just to do it because you can and you think it's funny.
Yeah.
Only if it really fits the piece. Like, it was a scene about bunnies multiplying flying like crazy.
Mm.
And suddenly you blink and there's like 30 more bunnies.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, holy.
I can
Look at all the bunnies.
I can fill in the blank.
Yeah.
That's funny.
That's so awesome. So are there any other trends? You mentioned trends in the industry. Do you feel like there are any other emerging trends that are...
I have seen one. I think we're going back to a little bit goofier.
Okay.
Have you seen... my favorite example is on some of the streaming ads. There's a vodka group called Juicy.
Okay.
They're at a pool. This lady has like a weird haircut, but she's got a voice like this and a very big face. And she goes, I don't know what to do with my hands, so I hold Juicy. Say, Juicy! And like, it's just very big and weird. And I'm even hearing that come back. Like, as I was driving up here, I listen to the radio because I can get weather, news, traffic. But then I also listen to the spots. And I'm hearing a lot more crazy shouting and then go into a softer announcer. So especially for radio, I think it's kind of a big thing because it startles you out of that focus.
Wow.
So having someone go, ah, like another one I just heard was yelling, I got all the savings. Ah, they have my friends. And it was like big and like screechy, but it cut through.
Yeah.
It cut through the honking. It cut through the car noise.
Get your attention.
It did.
It's good. Yeah.
So I think for streaming and radio, I definitely hear that coming. For TV ads, I'm not so sure yet, but I think it could be.
Wow, that's really interesting. It's honestly marketing 101.
Because I think the last few years we've wanted close comfort because for a while we weren't able to be around the ones we wanted. So we wanted that conversation and that connection through our ads. Now we're sort of tired of that and we're ready to be a little more energetic again. We're ready to get out and have some fun. So I think the commercials are going a little more quirky on the scripts, a little more fun.
Dig it.
Yeah, that's super cool.
I got a new idea for Joey and the podcast trailer. He's gonna have to get a little big screech. It really.
Hey, we'll see.
The Rough Cut Club. We're here.
No, you're going the William Shatner.
Yeah.
I like that. You can be William, and I'll do the big loud voice.
All right. Before we move on, what are the multiple ways that a freelancer or a new person to voiceover should be trying to get new jobs? Because I was telling Joey, we get emails for voiceover actors like 3 or 4 times a week.
I probably sent y'all some too.
Yeah.
I'll have to check. We try to save and put organize them and stuff. But there's so many that comes through. So how do you stand out? Because even for us in a film world,
being yourself. You might have a template for. Hey, I'm a local voice actor who wants to work and expand my reach within the Dallas network of production companies. I'd love to work with you and maybe have a talk. Otherwise, you might go, hey, yo, what's up? My name is Lara. I am the quirky, my tagline is the tiny but mighty voice actor. Big voice, mighty voice in a tiny package. So let's see how we can explore together. By the way, I'm also a UNT alumni. Go Mean Green. How about we help a local one alum to another? How about we can help each other out? Let's have a meeting. So you find a way to connect with who you're trying to write if you can. So obviously, go look at their website, read their bios, at least know what they're doing. Don't just blanket.
Would you say having your agent, is an agent a move that somebody should do?
Eventually.
So wait on that.
That's going to be your national jobs mostly. Sometimes they'll get you some regional, but you're not going to get there right away. They want to know that you are studying. They want to know that you are bookable. So that means bringing in some clients of your own already or having some clients. The one I'm thinking about doing next is actually reaching out to Chamber of Commerce in my city. Go to the meetings. I saw it's a little pricey to join ours, so that's why I hadn't done it yet. But Chamber of Commerce, Facebook, Twitter, mom and pop shops, email, call. Emailed our vet because I said, I think you changed your phone message recently and it just doesn't sound as good. Can we talk? I'd love to help y'all because my family and I have been patients for 20 years. So I'd love to help do something and give back. They ended up they changed their voicemail to a mail though. Like a few days after. That was
They took
funny.
your advice.
They did.
That's awesome.
But yeah, Twitter is a great place for auditions, Facebook groups. Just there's some social meetup groups like in Dallas for just voice actors. We recommend each other. I mean, voice acting, we really do say we're some of the biggest cheerleaders in the industry. If we can't work for the job, we probably will recommend someone we know that does, because then they can turn around, maybe help pat your back later.
How do you feel? I don't know. I'm sorry, I sabotaged
okay.
your 3 questions.
Okay.
How do you feel about paid sites? So like voices.com, Fiverr, Upwork, those kind of
sites. They're not my
sites.
favorite, but I am on a couple of them. A certain website was just at a big voice conference, VO Atlanta, and actually said they were going to make some changes. Well, no, not yet. Not that we've seen yet. In fact, we've seen it go worse from some email marketing that they've been sending out.
Oh no!
So
what is
take them with a grain of salt.
I was about to say, what are some of the main issues that you have to deal with on
low paying
gigs?
A lot of the places are not industry standard because a lot of the companies don't know what the standards are. So online, there's a couple of places in the UK, Gravy for the Brain, and here the Global Voice Acting Academy, GVAA. They have what's called rate guides. So you can go out and say, okay, I'm doing a national commercial. It's going to be in this many markets and run for this long. You should be getting about this much.
That's great.
So what we can do as actors is we will email and say, hey, I'd love to work with y'all, but you are not doing industry standard. Please let me show you this. Let me help educate. Because if we all accept these $100 jobs for a national commercial, all we're doing is underselling ourselves, setting a standard for accepting that low, and it's going to hurt the others in the community. So it's really about the education and just making sure that we're asking for what we're worth.
That's great. So you would almost say network, reach out over a voice actor early in the industry, get on one of those paid sites, right? I mean, it's a way to start, I'm sure.
Some people will say it's a practice, and some money is better than no money.
Right.
I will admit I've taken some jobs that were a little lower in pay than I probably should have.
We all have.
Especially in the beginning because I did not know better, didn't know about these sites. And some, if you know it's a quick turnaround, maybe it's worth it. But the big thing is just seeing how long are they using it and how are they using it.
Yeah.
So usage length, and then is it going to be paid media like going on a streaming site? Is it on your Pandora playing as an ad? Or is it just going to live on YouTube and maybe their website? Because that can change how many people will see it.
Yeah.
So then that's how you change how much you might charge.
Yeah. That's great.
So again, it's GVAA. Global Voice Acting Academy.
And we'll have Bella put the link in the description for
right.
everybody out there. That's a great resource. Yeah. And no, that's great. I think.
And they teach they have online classes there. There's other lots of resources there too. So
that sounds like a great community.
100%.
We are a good community. I mean, we really like to help and learn and just support each other as much as we can.
Yeah. Well, Lara, we got 3 questions we like to ask every guest before we get them out of here. So my very first one, it's a little bit deep, but if you could go back in time and do it all again differently, what is one thing that you would change in your career?
If I could change it in my career, I would honestly try to get a little more commercial work early on because it's hard to get out of the anime mindset in the cartoon where it was big and bubbly. So for the longest time, I've struggled on just trying to do the connection and ground. The best way is to say to ground myself, because everyone really likes to say, oh, you're too bubbly and too high pitched. So I have to really settle my voice for commercials. If I do it. So I tried working with somebody on it. I would go do a little more coaching, actually.
That's good.
A little more coaching on trying to get that, expand my range. That's the better way to say it.
I love it. No, that's good. What is one piece of advice that you can give to a voice actor trying to grow in their craft or their business?
It's okay to have days where you don't get as much done as you think. Your mind and your body will tell you when you've hit your limit for the day.
It's good.
It's good.
I love it. Well, my last question for you, who is either one filmmaker or one voice actor who has inspired you or your work?
I'd say I go back to Chris Sabat. I mean, he was the reason I started all this.
It's awesome.
I mean, if I hadn't have gotten to meet him and another voice actor, Eric Vale came that day. If they hadn't have let me just goof around and have some fun, I probably wouldn't be doing this. I wouldn't know this is an actual career.
Yeah, that's cool. That's very fortunate that, just literally out the gate, you got to meet somebody that launched your career.
And I ran into him 10 years later and told him that story again.
Wow.
And they're like, I'm old, but I remember that. Like, not me in particular, but that's when they said, that's the only one I've ever done. I remember that.
Wow. Such a cool story. Well, Lara, it has been a really awesome episode just to, hear from somebody in your industry, hear kind of your journey and some of the techniques that you bring to the craft. And so thank you for coming by the studio today.
Hey, I'm glad I could share.
Yeah. For those that want to get in touch with you, what's the best way to get connected?
On social media, I am at Lara Woodhull VO on pretty much everything, or just find my website, larawoodhull.com. Awesome.
Well, thank you again so much for joining us in the studio today. This has been a great episode of the Rough Cut Club. We'll see you next week.